Jomar Malate, a 17-year-old boy from the crowded alleys of Tonda, stepped onto the Ireland's Got Talent stage as if he were entering another universe. His feet, still used to the rough concrete of Manila streets, felt strange on the polished floor beneath the blinding stage lights. His barong, loosely fitted and slightly yellowed with age, had been stitched together by his mother from scraps of old fabric she collected from neighbors. It wasn't elegant, it wasn't new, but it carried every prayer she whispered for him since childhood. Jomar clutched the microphone with both hands because the trembling simply wouldn't stop. The audience whispered. Some tilted their heads, unsure of what to expect from a thin Filipino teenager who looked like he hadn't eaten properly in days. The judges, seated behind their sleek desk, watched him with mixed curiosity. Catherine Doyle leaned slightly forward, reading the fear in his eyes. Michael O'Shea simply folded his arms, waiting for the first note, the way a storm waits to break. When the music began, a soft, slow instrumental that echoed through the auditorium, Jomar shut his eyes. He imagined the narrow streets of Tonda, the smell of frying fish, the laughter of children running barefoot, and his mother standing by their window, praying he would not fail. When he opened his mouth, the sound that came out was not polished, not trained, but painfully honest. His voice cracked on the first line, raw, fragile, soaked in every struggle he had carried from the Philippines to this moment. Catherine's hand flew to her mouth. Michael's eyebrows lifted sharply as he leaned forward, suddenly still. The studio grew silent. His voice rose, shaky but rising with courage, filling every corner of the room with a kind of sorrow that did not ask for pity, only understanding. Each verse felt like a confession, a boy who had slept on cardboard rooftops during heat waves, who had worked odd jobs to help his mother, who had dreamed of singing even when life told him to stop dreaming. Toward the chorus, something changed. Jomar's trembling eased. His voice steadied. He poured every hidden hope and every buried heartbreak into the melody. The audience felt it. The weight, the truth, the hunger, the faith. By the final note, Jomar lifted his chin, his eyes shining not with confidence but with a desperate wish that someone, anyone, would believe he was worth something. The last note faded. Silence. No cough, no whisper, no movement. Then Michael O'Shea suddenly slammed both palms onto the judge's desk and stood up, shaking his head in disbelief. Catherine, tears finally falling, rose beside him. The entire audience erupted, clapping, cheering, some crying with him. Jomar stared in shock, the microphone trembling again, but this time from joy. Marikit Reyes stood just behind the shimmering curtain of the Ireland's Got Talent stage, clutching her battered wooden guitar like it was the only thing keeping her from collapsing. At 22, she had lived more life than most people twice her age. Cebu City's streets had shaped her, night markets, jeepney horns, the scent of seawater drifting in every corner, and the constant struggle of a girl who grew up singing for coins beside a sidewalk crowded with vendors. The guitar in her hands had been pulled from a junkyard when she was 14, repaired with tape, glue, and hope. Every scratch was a memory. Every crack was a story. When her name was called, she stepped forward with hesitant feet. The bright studio lights made her squint. They were nothing like the dim street lamps she was used to singing under. The crowd murmured the moment they saw her, a shy Filipina girl in a faded dress, holding an instrument that looked like it could fall apart any second. The judges exchanged glances. Catherine Doyle tilted her head, unsure. Michael O'Shea tapped his pen against the desk, uninterested at first. Nora Kelly, known for her stern critiques, stared without blinking. Marikit swallowed hard, bowed politely, and introduced herself in a soft voice that trembled like thin paper in the wind. When she sat on the small black stool and positioned her guitar, her hands shook so visibly that the camera zoomed in on her fingertips. The room fell quiet. Then she began to play. Her fingers danced over the strings, gentle, delicate, like she was afraid the guitar might break if she touched it too hard. She sang a lullaby her grandmother had taught her, one that mixed the wistfulness of Cebu's Visayan melodies with an Irish harmonic twist she had learned online. It was a strange combination, unexpected, fragile, yet heartbreakingly beautiful. Halfway through the song, a sharp twang cut through the silence. One of the strings snapped, curling upward like a wounded snake. The audience gasped. Marikit froze for a heartbeat, eyes wide, tears threatening. She could have stopped. She could have apologized, walked off, and vanished like so many poor contestants who never got a second chance. But she didn't. She pressed her lips together, lifted her chin, and continued singing, her voice trembling, raw with emotion. Without the broken string, her guitar sounded uneven, but somehow, it made the moment more real. Her tears fell freely, landing on the guitar's weathered wood. Nora Kelly rose first, shouting, "Keep going. Don't stop." The audience stood, cheering her through every note. By the time she finished, the judges were in tears. Even Michael wiped his eyes discreetly. Marikit sat frozen, overwhelmed, gripping her broken guitar, knowing that for the first time in her life, the world had truly hurt her. The Davao brothers, Lachlan and Emilio, stepped onto the Ireland's Got Talent stage wearing the only decent shirts they owned. Faded, washed too many times, and still smelling faintly of detergent they borrowed from a neighbor. At 23 and 21, they had spent their lives working as garbage collectors in Davao City, waking before sunrise to lift heavy bins, running behind trucks, and returning home exhausted but still practicing their street dance routines under a single flickering bulb outside their small home. Dancing was the one thing poverty had never been able to steal from them. As they reached the center of the stage, the bright lights revealed the clear tape wrapped around their slippers, the patches on their pants, and the bruises on their knees from practicing on rough concrete. The audience whispered. Some raised eyebrows. The judges looked puzzled. Catherine Doyle leaned forward, her expression softening as she noticed the brothers exchanging a silent nod, the kind siblings give when their whole world depends on a single moment. The music began with a deep, pulsing beat. Lachlan and Emilio moved instantly, their bodies snapping into sharp, explosive motions. Their routine wasn't polished like the professional dancers Ireland was used to seeing. It was raw, fierce, overflowing with survival. Every flip, every slide, every stomp screamed of lives spent fighting to stay afloat. Sweat flew as they spun, their breathing heavy, their movements fueled by years of hunger, struggle, and unbroken brotherhood. Then came the storytelling. The music shifted into a slow, emotional melody. The brothers reenacted their childhood, Lachlan protecting Emilio from bullies, Emilio sharing the last piece of bread, Lachlan teaching him how to dance to forget the pain. Their bodies spoke of nights when they had no dinner, mornings when they woke to eviction threats, afternoons when they danced on the streets hoping someone would toss a few coins. The audience was no longer whispering. They stood frozen, watching two young men spill their entire lives across the stage. Catherine wiped her eyes repeatedly. Nora Kelly pressed a hand to her chest, whispering something no one could hear. Michael O'Shea leaned forward, jaw clenched, eyes locked on the brothers like he couldn't blink if he tried. As the final beat dropped, the brothers collapsed to their knees, panting, trembling, gripping each other's arms. The room fell silent, one long, breathless pause, until Michael suddenly stood, slamming his hand on the desk. "Unbelievable," he shouted. Catherine couldn't hold it back any longer. Tears streaming, she pushed her chair back, ran forward, and slammed the golden button with both hands. Gold confetti exploded from above like a storm of light. Lachlan and Emilio broke down completely, crying into each other's shoulders as the audience roared, knowing the world had just watched two boys from Davao rise higher than anyone ever expected.